Rise of nationalism in Europe. Nationalism. This is a belief system which implants a sense of common identity among the members of a nation. National flag, national symbol, national anthem. These play an important role in developing and strengthening the idea of nationalism. Let's see about the rise of nationalism in Europe. Countries in Europe were not in the form as they are today. Before the middle of 19th century, there were regional monarchies in Europe which used to enjoy absolute power. In the year 1789, with the French Revolution, creation of nation-states began due to various technological and social changes. In the year 1848, Frédéric Soriot, a French artist, he prepared a series of 4 prints visualizing his dream of a world made up of democratic and social republics, as he called them. In Soriot's vision, the people of the world are grouped as distinct nations, identified through their flags and national costume. United States and Switzerland, which were the nation states by that time, passed the Statue of Liberty, and other countries. In this image, we see the dream of a worldwide democratic and social republics. What is a nation? A nation is the culmination of a long past of endeavors, sacrifice and devotion. A nation has a common will in the present and performed great deeds together in the past. Nation is a large-scale solidarity. People from a nation have common descent, history, culture or language. In this image, we see the different nations in the world map. The French Revolution. French Revolution was a major event in the modern European history. French Revolution, also called as Revolution of 1789. The revolutionary movement which shook France between 1787 and 1799 reached its first climax in 1789. French Revolution had general causes which were common to the revolutions of the West at the end of 18th century, and particular causes that explain why it was by far the most violent and the most universally significant of these revolutions. The first of the general causes was the social structure of Europe. The political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of French Revolution. It led to the transfer of sovereignty from monarchy to a body of French citizens. The King Louis XVI was young and inefficient. His lavish lifestyle needed a lot of money. Therefore, to meet his regular expenditure, taxes were increased. Society was divided into 3 estates. First estate of clergy, second estate of nobility. Taxes were applied only to the third estate. The population of the France, it led to the rising in the bread piece. There were 3 philosophers, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who spoke against the doctrine of divine, John Locke, who said that the government should be formed by a social contract between the people and their representatives, and Montesquieu for the separation of power. The educated members of the third estate understood their incapability of speaking against the government. King had also called for an estate general meeting, which consists of members of all the estate, to increase the tax. The members of the third estate asked for vote per head instead of the present vote per estate system. Louis XVI disagreed to this proposal. Members of the Third Estate took an oath to form a constitution in the France that would limit the powers of the monarch. During this time, people in other part of the France stormed and attacked the Bastilles. The long-awaited constitution finally came into effect on September 30, 1791. National Assembly was dissolved and replaced by a new political body named Legislative Assembly. No member of the National Assembly was elected to the new legislative body, as earlier that members of the National Assembly would not be allowed to hold a seat in the new parliament. French Revolution changed France and rest of the Europe forever. It inspired a number of revolutionary movements of the 19th and early 20th centuries. These movements made the final end to institutions such as absolutism, feudalism, class privilege and legal inequality, and spread the principles of natural right. In this image we see the ruler Louis XVI. Causes of French Revolution. A new French flag, the tricolor, was chosen to replace the former royal standard. The monarchy's severe debt problems, high taxes, poor harvests, and the influence of new political ideas, they caused the French Revolution. It was also influenced by the American Revolution. Starting as a movement for government reforms, the French Revolution rapidly turned radical and violent, leading to the abolition of monarchy and execution of King Louis XVI. Landowner peasants attained an improved standard of living and education, wanted to get rid of feudalism. They wanted the full rights of landowner. Nationalism in Europe. Before the middle of 19th century, the countries in Europe were not in the form as we know them today. Different regions in the Europe were ruled by various multinational dynastic empires. These were the monarchies which enjoyed absolute power over their subjects. The various technological and the ensuing social changes helped in developing the ideas of nationalism. The process of creation of national states began in 1789 with the French Revolution. It took about 100 years for the idea to gain the concrete shape, which resulted in the formation of France as a democratic national state. The trend was followed in other parts of the Europe, and it led to the establishment of modern democratic systems in most parts of the world at the beginning of 20th century. The nationalism and the idea of the nation state emerged, the aristocracy and the new middle class. Socially and politically, a landed aristocracy was the dominant class on the continent. The members of this class were united by a common way of life that cut across regional divisions. They owned the estates in the countryside and also townhouses. They spoke French for the purpose of diplomacy and in high society. Their families were connected by the ties of marriage. This powerful aristocracy, the majority of the population was made up of peasantry. In Western and parts of the Central Europe, the growth of industrial production and trade meant the growth of towns and emergence of commercial classes whose existence was based on production for the market. Industrialization began in England in the second half of the 18th century, but in France and parts of the German states, it occurred only during the 19th century. In this period, the working class population and the middle classes, made up of industrialists, businessmen, professionals, In Central and Eastern Europe, these groups were smaller in number till late 19th century. Ideas of national unity were popular among the educated, liberal middle classes after the abolition of aristocracy.